Hello, Ukulele Underground. It's Aldrin Guerrero, and welcome to Thursday live lesson here on ukuleleunderground.com. Once again, my name is Aldrin Guerrero. I am joined by Mr. Aaron Nakamura. Say what's up, Aaron.
What's up?
And I'm also joined by Mr. Kahai Farugan.
What's up?
Farugan. Is it Farugan? Farugan.
I prefer Ferguson.
Like Clarissa.
Yep.
But we are here. It is Thursday, 1 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time, and of course, it is time for the Thursday live lesson. So how this works is whatever question that we get from you guys throughout the week, we try to answer in this very show. And then on top of that, we do a small little review on some of the videos that we have here. So what we've been trying to review lately is that we've been trying to go through the uke minute stuff. So we are in the beginner intermediate level of the uke minutes. So far we did like just the basic stuff, and now we're trying to move on to playing and singing at the same time. So last week we worked on timing and rhythm. So we talked about the foot tap, and we were talking about how basic it is to tap your foot, but how extremely crucial tapping your foot is to playing the ukulele and getting those rhythms right, and getting those strums, those downs and ups, all on the right timing. Okay, so we're gonna expand more on that, but first, Kahai Fergan over here, what he does is he changes the camera angle. So if you guys need to see a closer look on my ukulele, and he can do that for you. So let's demonstrate that for you guys right now. Here we go. Bam, there it is. So when I'm showing you guys stuff, you guys can see my fingers a little bit closer, so you guys can get a better look. Also, Aaron Nakamura is standing by. He's going to be relaying some questions over to me from whatever source that we got. So we have the Ukulele Underground Plus forums on Ukulele Underground, and also we have email questions. And for you folks tuning in live, we have a live chat on HipChat. So our live chat that we have here, Aaron is going to be relaying those over to me, and I'm going to be answering those to my best abilities. So I'm going to be answering them, but of course, since we have three heads here, and three heads are better than one, Aaron Nakamura and Kahai Fergan is also going to be chiming in with their thoughts and their opinions on the question. Okay? So let's get started. Is there any questions that we need to address before we get started? No. Okay, so there was a video sent in to me, or a couple of videos sent in to me. First off, we have a video from Alan Fasig. Is Alan online today?
No.
He's not online today, but he will watch this though. 'Cause I know he's a pretty regular viewer. So what he did is he sent over a video of himself playing Honolulu City Lights. So this is what's called a tech check. So if you guys have any, have anything that you guys want to show us for us to, to kind of critique and give you guys a technique check, you guys can feel free to do that. So you can make a video of yourself and post it over on the UE Plus forum, and we will get it. Okay. So as far as that goes, Alan, I watched over your video. Some awesome improvements from the last time that we saw you playing Honolulu City Lights. Your phrasing has gotten a lot better. But there are a couple of critiques, that we do, want to make, so that you can make some, small adjustments, but they're not really, too big of an adjustment. First off, when I was kind of counting, to the song that you were playing, I was counting, and most of the time you were pretty much on it. But sometimes when you're going from the verse to the chorus or the pre-chorus, when you're switching from one part to another, there are small tendencies to rush the beat a little bit. So mind the tempo. I would suggest kind of practicing with the metronome, because as I was watching your video, I was clapping my hand along to what you were doing to see if your rhythm landed on the downbeat when it's supposed to land on the downbeat and on the upbeat. But it's it's kind of a nitpicky thing, because it is a solo piece, and solo pieces can and will go slower and faster throughout the song. It is totally up to you as far as the tempo goes. But me as a viewer, we want it as steady as possible. We know there's going to be human errors of going faster or slower, but keep in mind you want it as as steady as you humanly can. Okay. So other than that, your the notes when you're playing up here. So mind the chords that you're when you go up the neck. So make sure that those notes are nice and clean. You want to be doing the like string checks when you're going up here before before you play them when you're doing your practice, right? Because as I was noticing when you got up here, the notes that you were playing with the rest of your fingers while you were barring, say the 5th or 7th fret during that song, the notes that were coming out weren't as clean, and I kind of wanted to hear those ring out a little bit more. I mean, you would play them, but it would it would sound more like that. Like it would get that kind of sound. Oh, sorry about that. Can you, on the keyboard, on the upper right, there's a mute on the keyboard.
What is that? Oh,
Upper right, it's a mute button.
is that?
There it is.
It's
Yeah,
Alan
sorry about
calling
that.
us.
Yeah, Alan's like, oh, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there soon. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So see if you can get those notes a little bit cleaner and the tempo a little bit better. You should be golden. Okay, but you're on the right track. So congratulations on that. And we can totally see great improvement. All right. So what do you think? Because you watched that video
Oh
also.
yeah, I was super impressed with. If you watch his first video and then
Yeah.
that video, it's like
Right.
you can really tell he worked on it and
Yeah.
he got better. It's,
Can everybody see that on the forum? They can, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he made it public, so
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's okay.
So if you guys are interested in what that video looks like, please go to the UU Plus forum, and it should be on there under Honolulu City Lights. Okay,
Technique check.
for Honolulu City Lights, and he's gone he's gone pretty far with it. It's pretty awesome. But this advice goes for the rest of you as well. So make sure that when you're practicing a new song, especially something like a solo kind of tune, I would suggest practicing with the metronome. I know it's a little bit difficult to stay on time all the time. But we're not machines. I understand it's going to be a little bit off, but see if you can get it as close as possible, because we do get excited. Our emotions get in the way, and you want to move on to the next part. I'm also guilty of that kind of stuff. Like even when I play live, I go I get faster or I get slower. Most likely just get fast. 99% of the time I just get faster because I'm on stage, and all this emotion kind of comes up, and I tend to rush things, and I do understand. But as much as possible, I try to keep it still grooving. Like the groove still remains the same. It's still nice and steady.
You
Okay?
can tell where the song is gonna go. It's not like
Yeah,
it just
yeah,
speeds
yeah,
up
right,
all
right.
at once.
Because for that, if you listen to the song Honolulu City Lights by Naleo Pilimehana, it's it's a nice song. It's like a 3-part harmony, and they're really flowing and grooving, and you can really count like 1, 2, 3. Ba-da-dum, la-da-da-da-da-da-dum. It's nice and steady. Okay, so make sure you get that down. And like I said, for the rest of you who are trying those UU Plus solo stuff, please see if you can play it in time as much as possible. All right, but nothing wrong with going off a little bit.
I think even that, like if somebody's working on a solo
Mhm.
and they want to send the video of them playing like the our solo lesson,
Yeah.
that'd be really cool. Like for us
Yeah.
to just check it out on Technique Check. And
Yeah, definitely. Also, we got another video from Francesca, who was playing Noho Pai Pai. So she played her version of Noho Pai Pai, which is in G. But I want to kind of show you guys how how we play it first. So the way that I play it is in the key of C, and it goes like this. Alright, so this part right here, that's our vamp. Okay, so she was doing something up here. Oh, I thought that was muted. Oh,
Alan really wants to talk to us.
Aaron really wants to talk to us. Sorry about that. Okay, don't worry about that.
How dare you critique me? I'm going to critique you.
So, as far as that goes, this is the vamp. Right? So in G, this right here is the D7, and we just kind of flat it over to a D flat 7 to C. Okay, so the equivalent of D7 in the key of G is going to be A7. So we normally play our A7 here, and we can't really go down anymore. So she's doing something up here. But what I would, I think it's, I didn't really catch what she was doing. But here's a suggestion. A7, I'm going to use a G7 chord shape and move it up 2 frets. That would make it an A7, right? It's a movable chord shape. So we learned this on Ukulele Underground. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these 3 fingers instead of these 3 to play that G7 chord shape. My pointer finger is going to be up on the G string 2nd fret. So that's it right there. So what I'm going to do is instead of moving the whole thing down, I'm just going to move these 3 down and keep this right here because it's still an A. So this is that A note that I want to keep. Move it down. So it becomes like a C diminished, so it goes like this. Okay, so she got that part right. And then Pupu e Iova Emehana Honiana Oese Kuupoli. Okay, so that'll give you kind of more Hawaiian feel. Another suggestion that I can make is give that kind of bounce to it. So other than that, have fun with it. As far as the solos goes, to keep it more in the Hawaiian feel, I would suggest doing some like G string pull-offs. I know that sounds really dirty. That technique sounds really dirty, but you're doing pull-offs with the A string, and you're plucking the G string here. So that, will add more of a Hawaiian feel. Although I'm just playing that G scale. So I'm playing the note, pulling off, and playing the G string. Okay, and I'm just playing kind of random notes as my solo there. All right, so those are the 2 tech checks that we had for this week. Okay, now let's move on to see if we have any more questions from the chat. Any more questions?
Jim just asked, what song is that?
That song is called Noho Pai Pai. It's a rocking chair hula.
We actually taught that in the Hawaiian University class, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if they want to learn that, do you remember what key you teach it in? Probably
C. Yeah.
Okay.
C.
So it's a little different, but
Yeah.
generally the same.
And also, I think there's an E7 in there that I think as a bridging chord to the A7, D7, G. If you want to add that on there as well.
To Francesca.
Right? Yeah, for Francesca. Yeah, so it goes G. Okay. All right.
That's like a tension chord, right?
Yeah. Tension chord to get to the A7, D7, G. Because all it is just like a 5 to the 5 to the 5, the 1.
It's kind of like when we did Ko'oluwehi, right? You taught it like in a kind of simpler way, but then the guys.
I just did 5-1, but they did 5 to the 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the same
5,
thing.
5, 1.
They added transition chords.
Yeah.
To,
5 to the 5, 1. This one is 5 of the 5 of the 5 to the 1. It just keeps going back. I mean, you could even go further than that. You can go B. You can even go B7, E7, A7, D7, G. Circle of fifths, my friends. Amazing stuff.
That's some Jimi Hendrix infusion right there, right?
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. We're working this week we're working on mastering difficult chords. So there is a uke minute on mastering difficult chords. So, I know for some of you there are some chords that is just Like, it's just kind of hard to get to, and just hard to get clean. All right, so there's a couple things that you can do. First off, what I mentioned earlier to Alan, you can do what's called a string check. So play that difficult chord. So just just take your time. You don't even have to play it during a song. So just just see if you can practice that. For example, if you're having a hard time holding diminished chords like this, you want to do what's called a string check. Make sure that each string is ringing out nice and clean. So my G, C, E, and A strings are nice and clean. Because if you're holding them a little bit differently, or not, if you're holding them incorrectly, you'll hear it. So it would sound like, they won't ring out nice and clean, as opposed to. So that's one thing. And another thing that you can add on top of that is when you switch to those chords. So I want to play a chord that I am familiar with. For example, I'm very familiar with the F chord. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a chord that I'm familiar with, and then a chord that I'm not familiar with, because I can always go to a comfort zone. So the F is going to be my comfort zone, and I'm going to do a down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And whenever I'm ready, I'm just going to let go and then form. Right in the air, I'm going to form the diminished chord already. So you guys need to see if you can form the chord in the air, as if you're playing like air guitar. Imagine you're playing air guitar and I want to play I'll play this song, and the diminished chord looks like that in air guitar mode. Okay, so if this is the diminished chord, once it lands, you get a nice diminished chord. So go back to your comfort chord. Whenever you're ready, use an up strum. So when you get that up strum, you're gonna let go of the F chord, and then form your air guitar or air ukulele diminished chord, and then press it down on the down strum. So you can even slow it down to 1. And here's that up strum. So on that down strum, I place that diminished chord down, and that's how I'm gonna go from that to that. It doesn't even matter. You can even use a C chord if you want. And just practice switching between the hard chord and the easy chord over and over until you get used to it. So what you want to do is create the muscle memory in your fingers to know what that chord feels like. So once your fingers get used to knowing what it feels like to play that chord in the air and on your fretboard, it should be a lot easier to switch off from an easy chord to a hard chord. Okay, you're basically doing like trying to confuse your fingers. They're not really confused. It's like you're going from easy to hard, and back to easy to hard, and back to easy to hard. Okay, pick a really easy chord. Something that you're extremely comfortable with. So you're going from comfort zone, stepping out of the comfort zone, and back to the comfort zone, stepping out. So another one could be like G, and maybe like I don't know, it's a hard chord. E, like for some people, E is a hard chord. So you want to do like the air guitar, like our air ukulele chord up here, and then when you press it down. So you want to get the feel for how that chord feels like to hold, even just in the air. You want to get a feel for the shape of that chord, and then press down. So from G, yeah, so you're not worrying about keys, you're not worrying about scales or whatever. You're just going from one easy chord to a hard chord, okay? And it totally, you can totally do it for the chords up here in different inversions as well. So an easy chord in a different inversion is, like a C chord shape. So you're barring a fret, and you're playing like 1, 2, 3 on the A string. So just like your C chord, this is the bar, 1, 2, 3. So bar, 1, 2, 3. That's like an easy chord that's up here, okay? Up, more down your neck. And then you might want to, move over to a harder chord, maybe like a minor 7 like this. But if you really slow it down, my fingers are forming the chord even before they land. So this is, a common mistake that people do, that they form the chord like on the downbeat. So you want to form the chord up in the air, when you're doing that, when you're doing the upbeat for chord switching, because we went over chord switching before, that you switch on the upbeats and then land on the downbeats. You want to form the chord up in the air. And as far as difficult chords, you might even discover easier ways to do that chord. So you might say like, it's really it's really difficult. What if I do it like this? So for example, a minor 7 looks like this. So that's the shape for a minor 7. But I could also use my pinky finger to play that instead of my ring finger. This might ease a little bit of that tension, and it makes it easier for me to go from this chord to that chord. You're gonna experiment, and you're gonna find out a lot of things about your fingers and where the comfort zone is, and moving from one to another, one chord to another, an easy chord to a hard chord, and then you might want to go hard chord to hard chord. Okay, so to just kind of challenge yourself a little bit, but you want to up the difficulty level every single time that you do this. You don't want to get too comfortable. Okay, you don't want to confuse your fingers. You want to build that muscle memory. Like, okay, I know that this is the chord shape that I need to play up in the air before it lands, or this is the chord shape right here, bam, so it lands, right? Okay, from the C to that minor 7 chord shape. Okay? Yoda's got the confusion part down. But yeah, so mastering difficult chords can be something that easy. Okay, so for those of you who are who are beginners or having a hard time with, say, like the B flat chord, can be practicing this. So you can go from, like, say, F, which is a pretty simple chord, takes 2 fingers, to a B flat. So go from 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. See, notice I'm switching up in the air. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So I'm using that and the upbeats, switching down. So going from an easy chord to a harder chord, or maybe C to B flat. So here's an exercise that you can try for this week. So for this week, you can do 8 beats, switch over to the next chord. So for example, F and B flat, let's do that one again. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, 7, 8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So it gives you a little bit of time to before you switch over. And then once you're once you're comfortable with that, do 4 beats. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then maybe 2. So once you're good with that, you can do 2. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. And once you're good with that, just do 1. Okay? So you can do this with whatever chord you're having a hard time with. So, may it be just a B flat chord, a G chord. Some people, having a hard time with the G chord or G7 chord, or even just, your bar chords. So we were mentioning the bar chords last a couple weeks ago. So you can go from a regular C chord, maybe to your B minor chord from there. 3, 4, 1, 2, go to 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Okay? No chord is too easy or too hard for this exercise. If it's hard to you, then it is a hard chord. Okay, maybe an F might be a hard chord for some of you. C is always going to be your go-to simple chord. As far as for me, my go-to simple chord is a C chord, and go over to your F, your diminished chord, your B flat, your G, whatever it is. Start in C and move to a different chord. But like I said, up the difficulty a little bit. So maybe instead of using C, you want to use F to the whatever hard chord you're practicing. Maybe on top of that, you want to do 3 fingers for your easy chord. So G chord, and then move over to the diminished, and then maybe you want to do a bar chord for your easy chord. So you can up the difficulty as high as you want, but make sure that you're getting to practice all these things. And a great way to practice this is if you watch the practice sessions over at Ukulele Underground Plus. We have a lot of dexterity stuff, dexterity practice that you can do in chord switching practices. So feel free to check that out as a supplement to this particular live lesson. You guys can check that and see if you can complete that. If you've already completed it, why not do it again? It's we can never be too good at switching chords, So there's always room for improvement somewhere. So check that out. I think we mentioned this 3-4 weeks ago. If you dirty your white belts, you got to wash it off again. Start back off at white belts.
There's some things that you practice too, where it's like, I don't want to say you don't need to think about it, but I feel like this is like a good practice to do while you're like watching TV or you're focusing on something else.
Yeah,
and then your
It's
hands
it's hand movements, right.
Because you're trying to build up your muscle memory and then your finger strength, right? So it's not really like you need to think like,
no,
gotta switch to that C chord again.
Yeah.
It's like,
so, what do you guys think, Aaron?
Well, just like usually if you have kind of the songs that you usually play, and within those songs there's always like a
Something
chord
easy.
switch
Yeah.
that you always have a hard time with. So that's probably the best one to try.
So that it
switch
applies
between
to
those.
something that you're already doing.
And then that way you'll get better at it, and then you'll immediately see how that affects your playing.
Good. Definitely.
But
Right, so
oh yeah, Alan said that he needs to practice the E shapes.
yeah, it is. It is a bit difficult, especially when you're holding down those bar chords like that. It does tend to get a little bit difficult. So for E, I would suggest practicing simple chords that pertain to that key. So maybe like A, or maybe B. Or C sharp minor, if you want to just do like a simple bar chord. That's a good one because you're switching your pointer finger from 4th fret to 2nd fret. You're barring 4th fret, 2nd fret, 4th fret, 2nd fret. Okay? So those are some practices that you could do with E if you're having a hard time with E, or maybe D. So if you want to practice those, those two of them. One practice.
I think for the E, you should play around with your ring finger, the positioning of your ring finger, because really you only need a little bit of clearance to clear that A. Yeah.
Yep.
So if you push your ring finger up more, move it up more.
Move it up.
Yeah, because then.
Oh, but my E.
Yeah, so that's why. So you gotta play with
that
positioning to make sure that it's
because you don't want it too low, also.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't want it too low or too high.
You got to figure it out. Yeah, Goldilocks.
Just right.
Yeah.
Right. Not too sweet.
But
not too rancid.
But yeah, that because your finger doesn't actually have to bend like a lot. It just has to clear that A.
Yeah.
I think some people see like how other people hold that chord and they see it bending like at a kind of a steep
lot
curve and they're like, I can't do that. That's impossible.
But you don't need to.
Yeah. It
I've
doesn't
seen,
have
like,
to. It
people
doesn't have to.
Don't have that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. No.
Or you could do what I do and
What's that?
just play power chords. Don't play that chord.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
the
'cause you
power chord,
could,
like
yeah.
I guess C, like if you're, do it like this, I guess, right?
Uh-huh.
At top 3, that's so difficult though. Especially if I'm going from like A and B. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
I'm a punk kid. You only play
Yeah.
power chords.
Yeah.
Punk kids.
No.
Well, power chords are with 3 fingers, right? It's like this.
Usually, you want because you're cutting off like the notes, yeah.
Right,
like,
right.
All the other notes. It's all just those notes, so.
Yeah. Actually, how that works on the ukulele. Because power chords in the uke is like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that's like
worked.
power chord.
That's,
That's a power chord right there. I'm also punk kid. I played in punk bands.
Oh, Leanne is asking what a power chord is.
Okay, power chords are basically 1 and 5. So the 3 is undetermined, and that's kind of what makes that chord so versatile. So in a regular chord, you need 1, 3, and 5 for a major chord. So maybe we'll do it in C. So here's our scale: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So a regular major chord would take 1, 3, and 5. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5. And on our A string 3rd fret, we play that so that we double up the 1. So 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5. That creates our C chord, all right? Now, what differentiates a major chord and a minor chord is the 3. A minor chord, you're taking the 3 and you're lowering it by a half step. So instead of C, E, G, it's going to be C, E flat, G. So you get C, E flat, G. So here's another C. So C, C, E flat, C, E flat, G. And that gives you your C minor chord, right? Now, power chords are so versatile because you can play that one power chord and it goes for both major and minor. So what it's doing is I'm gonna take, so that's my 3, right? E. I'm gonna play E string 3rd fret, which is my 5. So I have 1 and 2 1s and 2 5s. So that's a power chord right there. Jake Shimabukuro likes to use this particular power chord a lot. So when he's doing that, like that stuff on While My Guitar Gently Weeps, he's basically soloing off of a power chord. Because this C and this G is just 1 and 5. So so it can count as minors and majors, and you can move this chord shape of 0, 0, 3, 3 up and down, and it could substitute for those chords, major or minor.
When you play stuff, I'm like, oh, it's the chord, it's the song of my people. And then if you play muted octaves,
Oh yeah. So that's what power chords are. Dang, we have a uke minute for that? Jeez. What don't we have a uke minute for? I honestly wonder sometimes. Because I feel like I'm like teaching something and I feel like it's new, but it's like, no, uke minutes did it. It's like, what? I guess. I thought it was like a groundbreaking thing, but it's like, no, I guess I've already taught that. So I mean, I don't mean to
Yeah.
talk bad about other teachers, but like you could be looking up a like a tutorial on YouTube. It's like Ukulele on the Ground did it because we've had 10 years to do things, kind of like how Simpsons did it.
Yeah.
Simpsons has been around for like 20 something years. What hasn't Simpsons done? So I'm confused sometimes. Like what haven't we done on this site yet?
We're gonna. Or I was gonna say it's gonna be like The Simpsons too, where we're gonna start recycling old
our
jokes.
stuff.
It's a throwback.
It's a throwback. It's a throwback.
Not recycling.
Well, at least with Ukulele Underground, because we taught it, one way, and of course, like throughout the years of experience that we have here, there is always going to be a better way to teach one thing. So that's why I encourage a lot of people to get as many like as many people teaching them as possible. So it's we do encourage you guys to to go out and seek like private tutors and stuff, because it's one thing to watch Ukulele on the Ground and take whatever we teach you, but it's another thing to get to get that same kind of instruction from a different perspective. So it's good to hear it from many many different people, so you get the right kind of information that you need. So yeah, because that's what I did when when I was starting out. I was learning from all kinds of people. I was learning from Mr. McIntosh. I was learning from Cheryl Shintani. I was learning from Mark Baldonado. I was learning from Jake Shimabukuro. Like all these other people, and I would ask them for advice. But my main teacher was basically Jake, like who was teaching me stuff. So kind of like Ukulele Underground, Ukulele Underground could be your main teacher, but then you can go like to your local music store, see if you have somebody there that does private lessons, and that can also help you out. So is that once you have the finger shape for the power chord, you can move that same shape up and down the fretboard? Yes. So this would be C, right? So this is what's called a movable chord shape. Because we have 0, 0, 3, 3, if we did 1, 1, 4, 4, that still works. So this is a shape that you can move up and down the fretboard as long as the shape stays the same, okay? So since this is C, we're taking the A string 3rd fret. So whatever note that lands in for this shape, it will be that chord. So this is a D chord, it's an F chord, E chord, D chord, G chord right here, A chord right there. So you can move it up and down and you'll get whatever chord that you desire. If you want more information on this, check out Movable Chord Shapes. All right, we have various lessons on movable chord shapes. You can check that out on UUU, the Ukulele Underground University. You can check that out on Uke Minutes. Uke Minutes did it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so check that out.
That one you wanna type it like MOVEABLE, and then also you might want to look up MOVABLE.
Movable.
Yeah, we spelled it 2 different ways.
Movable.
So
Movable.
they're related, but we just decided to spell it 2 different ways. So.
Uke Minutes did it.
Yeah.
Movable.
Yeah.
Is that what I was? No, I don't upload videos. That wasn't me that time.
Yeah, it's I think one of them is from. Well, it's from a while ago. So it's just every time we update the site, it kind of changes a little bit. So one of those things.
Cool. Any other questions that you guys might have?
I don't think so. Not right now.
Cool. So let me give it a few more minutes. If nobody has any more questions, then we'll end the stream here. But is there anything that you guys want to address for this week while we wait for the lag of the chat?
You did one, like you did mastering difficult chords. Are you gonna do? Usually we do 2 for.
Well, I wanted to do 1 for this because the next one is just singing and playing at the same time, and I wanted to at least be kind of related, So
okay.
that is not really that related, so that's why.
Okay. So just this week.
Muting question. There's a couple of be a little bit more specific, Jim. See what kind of muting question? Question mark?
Question.
But I'm gonna try to answer it as best as I can. There's 2 ways, that you can do your mutes. You can do right hand mutes, or you can do left hand mutes. So right hand mute, There's one called palm muting, so you can take the side of your palm, you can mute it. You mute your ukulele by taking that side of the palm and placing it on the saddle of your ukulele. So that's a nice little mute. Okay. So another way to mute is left hand mute. So you can use your pinky for that. So for example, if I'm playing G, I can mute it with my pinky finger. So what mute is to basically just stop the strings from vibrating. So any way to stop the strings from vibrating, you can strum down and you can chunk. That's also one way of muting. Or you can just lift up on the chord. So if I'm playing G, and if I lift it up a little bit, it stops it. So I'm not even using my pinky. If I'm playing B flat, if you just lift it up a little bit, it'll stop the strings from vibrating. So that's all you need. So left hand mutes and right hand mutes. Right hand chunks, palm mutes. Left hand you can do lifts or you can do pinky.
Oh, I got it. It was he asked the question in an email. That's why.
Oh, I see.
So his question from the email is: you mute with your pinky. I'm not as dexterous as you, so I try to use a bar chord and release the tension on the strings to get them muting.
Yes, yes.
I also use that technique on some of the chords with open strings, and generally find that they carry through for the open strings doesn't overpower the muting. Other methods to make it. Yeah.
Well, those are methods. I mean, the right hand stuff you can always chunk, to stop it from ringing out. But for your left hand stuff, if your pinky is not as dexterous, there are practices that you can do. Once again, uke minute magic. There's uke minutes to doing the pinky mutes and practicing stuff like that. So if you have open chords, like say for example F or C. So most of those open chords only really use a few fingers, one or two fingers. For example, the C, since you're only using one finger, if your pinky finger is not that dexterous, you can use pointer finger to play the C, and you can use the rest of your fingers to stop the strings from ringing out. So when you're playing F, you can use your pinky and or your ring finger to do that. So you can. And a way to practice this to gain dexterity, so just because you don't have dexterity doesn't mean you can't learn or gain it. When you're playing F, play that F chord, let it ring, and then mute it. Honestly, just do this. And you'll gain, get faster and faster, and you'll gain the dexterity needed on that pinky finger, okay? Go check out Chris Salvador's his master class, because Chris Salvador shows like cool little like tricks on how to warm up your fingers and get it ready for things that you would need a lot of dexterity to do.
Also, I think because like your fretting hand muting, when you just lift up on it, I think when you're doing that kind of muting, it's like it's a combination of that and placing whatever other fingers onto the fretboard. So you're actually lifting up on the chord, and putting other fingers on to mute it. So.
Well, so that's pretty much stuff that you can do to get better at that that muting. Okay, so check those out, Jim. Let us know if there's anything else, if you're still having a hard time. We would like to see a tech check from you to just kind of check up and to see what you're doing there. Any other questions?
Yeah, Vamsi said, "Is there an exercise I can do to improve my phrasing?"
Okay. Let's see. What's an exercise? That's a tough one. That's a very loaded question. My suggestion would be to just listen to singers and see, like how they phrase their songs. So if you were to say, you record yourself, using your phone or something, just record like a nice strum, like that's in rhythm. So I would record like, practice with the metronome and record yourself strumming with the metronome. Like Mary Had a Little Lamb. Just go like, so if this is the metronome, imagine that's what's going off. Just do. And try to see if you can do it to the rhythm as clean as possible. Okay, do it to the metronome as clean as possible, and then do the picking on top of that. Because what you're doing is you're really following that rhythm. Once you get the rhythm down, your phrasing should follow through. Now, once you get the rhythm down, make sure that each note is ringing out clean. So, because if you don't phrase it correctly, you might play a note sooner or later than you're supposed to play it. So make sure that you're playing it in time and you're holding that note for its full value. That's really all phrasing is that the flow is kept. You want to keep the flow. You don't want to disrupt the flow in any way. Okay, like that's the basic gist of getting your phrasing down correctly. It's the same thing as hearing somebody sing the song, and that's why singers can do it really well, because they're basically just following, musicians that are backing them up, and the musicians backing them up are nice and steady as far as rhythm goes, so they can sing on top of that already steady rhythm. So singers can do it pretty easily, especially like, say, if you're singing karaoke. Like imagine singing karaoke, right? And like you're trying to follow the karaoke backing track, and sometimes you're like, oh, how come it's it's off? It's like, it's not that the backing track is off, it's the way that you sang it was a little bit off. So that's how you kind of want to see it, that you want it to be in time and in tune, and you're holding those notes correctly, and that you're playing those notes correctly.
I think of it as like music is supposed to be like I can't think of like the best word I can think to describe it is like predictable.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that when you're playing a song, you can do things to surprise people, but they'll still feel like the song is going somewhere.
Yeah.
Like they know where the song is going,
Right.
at least.
And if it's phrased differently, like the audience can be like, oh, that was different. Like that was yeah.
Like they might be able to pick out like, oh, that person like messed up by a quarter of a note or a quarter of a beat.
Right.
But they'll be able to feel it, like where it's like, that feels a little wrong.
Where it felt out of place, And that's really all it is. But that's what I would suggest to get better at phrasing. Okay, any other questions? Questiones? No?
Somebody? Yeah, actually, I think recording yourself playing is just good practice. Yeah. Because then you'll hear it too, like because you can critique yourself and
record it using a metronome. Like have the metronome next to you, play the song, and then record it, and then play it back to see like if if you actually landed on those beats or not. Yeah, but record yourself. It's the greatest tool. I wish I had something like that back then. I didn't have that.
Or you don't even need like something super good.
Yeah,
right?
it's
Like
your phone. Yeah, it's your phone.
So.
Or your computer, or something. Because I'm guessing you guys are watching this on a computer or a phone, and so you guys have all the tools. All right. So if anything else, please check out Ukulele Underground live Friday Aloha Jam tomorrow over on our YouTube channel, Ukulele Underground. We will be live and we'll be jamming some songs. We have Plain White Tees, Rhythm of Love. And we have the second one, I can't remember. Why Manala Blues. So Why Manala Blues and Rhythm of Love is going to be a great time. We always have a fun time over on our Friday Aloha Friday Jam live over at Ukulele Underground's YouTube channel. So please check that out tomorrow. That's going to be 1 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. 1 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time, of course, on a Friday. So join us. It's going to be live. You can jam with us. You can chat. You can just have some fun. It's more of a stress-free environment to jam your ukulele, okay? So on behalf of Aaron Nakamura and Kai Fergan, this is Aldrin Guerrero, and we'll see you folks next time. Have a great one. Aloha.